Welcome to our second of what I hope is our annual Flutteristas panel here at Fluttercon. And so thank you. And so the first thing this is gonna be a lot of interaction here. So my first thing is I'm curious, besides me, how many Americans do we have here? So, all right. Now, I'm curious, how many Brits do we have here? Okay, well, you may not want to listen to this, but happy July 4th, everybody. So, all right, I guess let's kind of get going here. Does everybody here know who the Flutteristas are? Have you been around the booth or anything like that, or run into us? We've talked to you about it and stuff like that. But if you don't, we are an organization. We were started by an ex-Googler, Emily Fortuna, back 5-6 years ago, for Flutter enthusiasts that happen to be female or non-binary. And when Emily left, they said, is there anybody that wants to take over? And there were several of us that have, over the time, have jumped in and are part of now organizing it kind of as a team. And so because we all feel it's very important, we keep it going. And we've had 2 conferences of our own that have been virtual. They've been very well received. Hopefully we'll have another one coming up. We'll see on that. And last year when we had the panel, afterward, Eric Seidel came up to me, and he had said, he wished he had time to actually say this on, in front of everybody, but he says every time he sees the Flutteristas, he's reminded by how Flutter would not be what it is without the female and non-binary people that have contributed to it. And when Eric Seidel is telling that to me, I find that very special. That's a big deal. And it's an honor for all of us to be here. Thank you. So last year we talked about the struggles we face, things like that. And afterward, everybody kept coming up to us and saying, okay, great. We get it. We understand what's been going on. How can we help? What can we do? And so when we got together to think about how we were going to do this panel, we really wanted it to be much more about allyship and how can we get help, and how can how can we help each other? How can our allies help us? How can we be good on the other end of that? And so that's kind of our theme of this panel. And I think with that, I would like to actually, Manuela, can you kick off the introductions?
Sure. So my name is Manuela. I am from Berlin. I'm a senior mobile engineer at Antigua Mobile. And yeah, fun fact about me, I love dogs.
Nice. I can go next. So my name is Elvira. I work as a mobile software engineer at ING. I'm originally from Italy, but I relocated to the Netherlands. And I think this is a fun fact by itself, so I don't have any other to share.
Nice. Hi, everybody. My name is Kendi. I am from Kenya, and I am a co-organizer for both droidcon Kenya and Flutter Developers Kenya. Fun fact about me is I love the Afro-Latino dances.
Ooh. Hello, I am Alicja. I am a senior mobile engineer at OLX Group. I live in Poland. And fun fact about me, I just love food. So I am either eating, thinking about food, or cooking something.
All right, thank you all. You may, hopefully you've been by the booth and you've seen our survey and you've taken it. And we've actually had, last time I looked, what was it, Esra, 100 and how many? More than 160 people have filled out our survey. And it's been interesting, some of the stuff we've seen. And so we're gonna kind of go over that. And we want to see about how are women developers perceived? How are women plus managers perceived? How do we deal with stuff like that? And so that's kind of what we're going on with. So today, we're going to have a quick little panel discussion kind of regarding things that are going on. We're going to talk about how allies can help create the spaces that we need to thrive and be the best members of the community that we can be. We're going to ask the question, is there obviously there's a right way to support someone. Is there a wrong way? What can we do to make sure that goes well? And then we're going to be asking questions. I'm going to ask people to be raising their hands, stuff like that, and we will see how we go from there. So, all right. So our first question, and I'd like to kind of ask people here, is how many of you have been the only woman engineer on a team? So for the women. Okay, yeah. All right. How many men have been on a team that didn't have a female engineer? Yeah. I think we can all agree that that number is quite high. And so I think I want to start with asking Kendi her experiences having been the only female on a team, and how do you think you were treated, and what tasks were you given, things like that?
Well, that's a very beautiful question. Yes, I have been the only female engineer in an all-male team, and sometimes it felt like I didn't belong there, even though I did. And at some point, when they look at you and they feel like you're a female, they feel like they kind of pity you in a way. And then when they're giving you tasks, you end up being given the easier tasks, like, oh, check if this is working, and but then you also want to participate in the harder tasks, like also making some decisions, but then you end up being given the easier tasks.
Well, do you have any advice on how we can try to deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I got to learn is you have to learn how to speak up for yourself. You actually need to tell them, I can actually handle this particular task that all of you don't believe in, that I can handle. So you learn to speak up and stand up for yourself.
That's great. All right, let's move on to the next one here. All right, so I want to ask everybody out here, raise your hand if you've had at least one Women Plus manager. Okay, we still have quite a few people who, leave your hands up, please. We've got quite a few people here who don't have their hands up. All right, if you've had at least two, leave your hands up, otherwise take them down. All right, that's coming down quite a bit. If you have more than three, leave your hands up, otherwise bring them down. I love you, Majid. You're amazing. All right, so as you can see, a lot of us have had multiple jobs or worked for multiple managers, and we don't have a lot of female people in the leadership roles, at least from a technical standpoint. So let's take a look at the survey. On the survey, I think this was, so 58.5% had at least one, okay? But we went to go to 2 or 3, you can see that the majority was still just one. I think that kind of tracks with what we've got here. I think that it had fewer than 26% at 3+, so it's probably a good group to be at here. All right, so our next question is for Alicia, and I want to ask, when you've had to ask for help, how has that affected you and in your career going forward?
Okay, so one story that I would like to share is how I noticed my more senior colleague, and she was a female, and she had a very strong position, so no one would ever doubt her competence. So when I saw her asking questions and saying that she's not sure of something, she doesn't know, and then also other team members, and it didn't really matter whether they were male or female, asking questions, that made me think, okay, this is normal. Like, all people, even seniors, sometimes don't know something, and it's super okay to just ask. So this is my message to actually everyone. Like, don't try to play that you know it all and you have an answer for everything, because that's not true. So don't be afraid to ask the questions, because by that you are also empowering all the people around you by showing that it's just a normal thing.
Okay, but if I'm like a little bit nervous and whatever, do you have any advice on how to go about asking?
Yeah, sure. So I know it's easy for me to say here, like, just ask, just say you don't know. But okay, even I know that it's not so easy. So my advice is that if you are feeling uncomfortable, try to first approach one person. So it can be your colleague that maybe you know a bit more or is generally nicer than other colleagues, because asking one person in private is, of course, much easier. And after that, hopefully you'll get more courage to ask an open question in an open conversation with many more people.
Great. Okay, so getting help is definitely a good thing. Makes us all better. Sometimes explaining things, I can tell you as a more senior developer, can help you understand it better. So I think that's a great thing to do. But kind of our next question here is, we're talking about, we were just talking about, women plus in management roles or senior roles. Does it have to be a woman that you're going to ask advice to? I think Manuel, yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, I can go.
Yours, guys.
Yeah, so short answer is no, it doesn't have to be women only. Actually, men can really be of help in allyship in general. And yeah, I want to elaborate a bit more on this, because when we talk about minorities in general, it is common to think that the problem that it's impacting them, because it's impacting them, is there only, and so it is like their responsibility to solve that. But I would like to offer a different point of view on this by saying that the people that actually are not in the category, most probably they also have more power in their way. And so coming back to the tech environment, I'm not saying anything new if I say that there is an historical and still ongoing imbalance between genders, and that usually men are the one that have key positions of influence, right? And so if it is when they decide to use their influence to spread knowledge and awareness that we can see faster and deeper changes. And there are actually many ways a man can be a good ally in that sense. Something that I can think of, if you are in a leadership position, for example, other than just mentor a female colleague, you could also try to advocate for their career advancement. Or also, if you are just a colleague in her team, you could celebrate and highlight her achievements with the others in the team. And also something nice that you could do would be to make sure that the so-called office houseworks are actually equally spread among all the members in the team.
Okay, you're using a new term for me there, office housework. Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, so with office housework, we intend those tasks that are vital, so they are needed in the team. For example, taking notes, organizing meetings, or maybe planning for business trips. So there is the need for someone to do that, but they are not tasks that are visible in the sense that they are not going to lead you to a promotion, right? And I think there is a study from Harvard on this. It is most common than not that women are the ones that are put in charge of this kind of tasks. So it would be nice if for your colleagues you could make sure that it is not always their responsibility. And all the examples that I just made are actually things that luckily I am living on my own skin. Like I really feel on my workplace that I am in a really healthy environment. And every time that I notice one of even my male colleagues that maybe just cheer me up and let the other people in the team know that, I don't know, maybe I spoke to a conference, right? It makes me feel so good. Like it really makes me feel seen and appreciated as a person, right? So, yeah.
That's great, thank you. And we're hearing kind of a common thread here. I think we're going to come back to it a little bit of how a lot of times we're given tasks that maybe we were qualified for better tasks. So I'm just curious out in the audience, how many people here feel like in their career they're often given things that they are, overqualified for? So, yeah, okay. I see a few men that have raised their hands and a few more women, so that's interesting from that standpoint. So our next survey question was, have you ever mentored a Women Plus colleague, a student, a friend, et cetera? Have you helped someone along? And I'm fairly happy with that answer, that 66% have. And unfortunately, as part of the survey, we don't know how that breaks down between men and women responding. So I'm hoping that that's pretty good. So that's progress. And out of the other 34%, I don't know, I mean, some of those probably haven't mentored anybody. So, if that's the case, that's good. And then kind of following up is, have you ever sponsored a woman? And we felt like we needed to define that. So to sponsor someone is meaning to advocate, endorse, and champion their professional trajectory. And on that, 41.5% have said yes. So I think those are numbers that are okay-ish. I mean, I think there's room for improvement. Again, I'd probably like to know, if I'd thought about it before, how many people have done it to anybody versus how many people have done it to a woman. Because if you haven't done it for anybody and you haven't done it for a woman, that's not that big of a deal. But but it's still it's something also to keep in mind, that you can help people out. All right. So how can you show that you can actually do the bigger tasks? So we see the common thread that we're given tasks that are below us. If we want to do bigger tasks, how can we show that we can do it? Or a lot of times, how can we actually show people who are already doing them? Manuela.
Yes, so basically by just doing it, first of all. So if you think you can do a bigger task, it is good to, show that you can do it. So you pick up those bigger tasks, or even ask your manager, hey, I would like to pick up that task. Can you support me? And if you're already doing them, sometimes managers have a lot to do, so they don't see that you're actually taking those bigger tasks already. So you can just remind them in a one-on-one or something, hey, I'm actually already picking up those bigger tasks. I'm doing that to really, show that you are doing it. And it helps also to write those bigger tasks down, because that might be very helpful later on.
All right, so kind of the follow-up question is, I'm doing more stuff, I'm doing things like that. So do you have any advice on how someone could ask for, more money or promotion after they've been showing they can do that?
I mean, absolutely. So if you want a promotion, usually people get a promotion when they're actually already doing the tasks that are meant for the other role. So if your target promotion is a senior developer, then it makes sense that you're already taking those tasks that a senior would do, that you are talking to third parties, that you are leading a topic. And also keep in mind, if it isn't happening for you in one company, it doesn't mean that you have to stay there, because sometimes there's this glass ceiling that you cannot break, and maybe it's just an easier way for you to find your luck somewhere else. But of course, first of all, if you have written down all your tasks that you are doing, bring that to your yearly review, so you can really talk with your engineering manager about your tasks and about your skills, and get a good evaluation of that.
That's a great answer, thank you. All right, so now I'm going to kind of ask a little question out here is, what are some of the misconceptions about allyship that you have encountered, and do you have any advice on how they can be addressed?
Yeah, there are actually many misconceptions. The first one, the most common one, I would think, is that all of these imbalance that there is, and all of the things that we are talking about are actually no needed to be spoken, because the problem is already solved. But I would say, unfortunately, it is not like that. And although, especially in our community, in the Flutter community, I would say that the environment is really nice and we are really progressive in that sense, there are still many domains where it is not like that. I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about that if it was solved already. So unfortunately, it's not like that. But apart from that, some other misconception can be, for example, thinking that in order to be an ally, a supporter, it means to perform like great gestures and like maybe, I don't know, take part to formal events such as awareness campaigns, while it is in reality just in the small and consistent action that you can be of help. You can even just listening and speaking up, right? And about speaking up, another common misconception is also thinking that speaking up means to speak up for a woman, while it actually means that you are empowering them to speak up for themselves, and also you are creating space for her so that she can do that. And another misconception that I would like to bring today is because I can see people struggling a bit with the weight of being supportive. Like they embrace the problem, they wanna be of help, but they think they cannot really do anything. And what I wanna say is that being an ally doesn't mean that you have all the answers. It doesn't mean that you know how to solve the problem, but it means that you want to listen, to understand, and then to collaborate in order to reach a common goal.
Oh, great, those are really great points. Another misconception that I have seen people bring up is somebody is not qualified, you know, but then in reality, these people are very, very much qualified. If anything, they bring the best minds, they bring the best decisions into your team, and sometimes they don't see that up until now you speak up for yourself.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so I've just got a kind of question out for the audience here. And panel, you can raise your hand if you do too. How many people have ever felt invalidated because of your gender? So, yeah, okay. I can't see exactly who else is back in the back with it, but I see quite a few hands. And I think that's a sad thing, but I hope we're getting better at that. Oh, invalidated, what is invalidated? Invalidated means like feeling like you aren't important, that you don't count, that you're not valid, you know, that your opinions don't count, that what you do doesn't matter because of that. So, thank you. Oh, the question was, what is invalid, by the way? All right, so we asked that question, and 20%, which may be about the percentage I saw of hands up here, answered that yes, that's happened. And so, you know, we need to be aware, and that's men and women. I saw both hands up here, and so we've got to be aware to try to get to a point where we're making progress, but without, you know, leaving other people behind. So we need to be careful with that. And so the next question is, how are women often perceived while doing their job? And how do women get judged when they do bold things, or sometimes just doing their job and doing it well? And go ahead, Alicia.
Well, once I was a witness of a situation where my colleague did a great job, and she was quite open about it. And she basically just said very openly that, yeah, she's awesome and the client loves her. And later she was contacted by the manager who said that, yeah, like, don't say stuff like that because boys said that, yeah, it's weird, like it made them feel weird. And I think that starts in our early life, because I remember from my childhood, like the kind of I don't know, suggestions that I would hear is to behave, to be nice, to be not to brag about yourself, because yeah, it's bragging. It's not like understanding your worth. Right now we have many more better words, but back then it was bragging. So I think we should like let people brag about their accomplishments and not use the B word, but you know, like let them be proud if they achieved something.
That's good, yeah. Has anybody here taken the I Am Remarkable workshops? Any of those? Okay, yeah, that's a, it started with, I think probably from Women Tech Makers, but generally anybody can take them. And that's part of what it tries to teach you is if you're advocating for yourself, it's not bragging, you know? And people other people don't usually advocate for you. So that's something, if you get the chance, I'd recommend it, whether you're male or female. So, all right, so this is a question that is both kind of good, but also kind of bad. Do you believe the women plus members of your team have the same qualifications as you do? And that's a overwhelming yes. I like that, right? But if you kind of do the numbers in here, almost 1 in 10 of the people in this room are on a team where they don't think the women plus members are as qualified as they are. And there can be many reasons for that, but I think that that's something that we can look at and try to address and figure out why people feel that way. And have you ever felt that you've lost an opportunity because of your gender? Let's see if anybody. All right, not very many people. Okay. All right, I'm glad to see it's not a huge number. I'm sad with the friends I see who have raised their hand here. But that's there. And it kind of brings us to one of the things that we're not necessarily qualified to talk about per se, but we want to kind of bring it up because I think it needs to be part of the conversation, which is, have you ever faced positive discrimination? And positive discrimination is basically, like, for example, you were going up for a job and a woman was going up for the job and they gave it to the woman just because she was a woman. Or they gave it to, someone just because of their race or religion or whatever. And so I'm just curious here. I'm a little afraid to ask the question, but how many people here have ever faced that, do you think? I love this. This is amazing. I do see a couple of hands there. The lights are bright, so if there's people far back in the back I didn't see, but out of the people I can see well, but I did see a couple of hands. But that's still, I'm glad it's not a higher number because it's something in the United States they talk about a lot, and I think a lot of people worry about it. So I'm glad to hear over here it's not really that much. So, all right, this is the end of kind of our conversation that we were having up here. And I want to thank our panelists. And if they can get a nice hand, that would be good. And what we'd like to do now is open it up for questions. If people want to ask questions, either about how, allyship, if they wanted to ask questions about, what can be done, if they want to, anything like that, maybe if they want to share an experience, as long as it's fairly brief, I would love to do that, so. Can we get that microphone turned on? If not,
I think it's on. Oh, wow. Hello. So yeah, thank you for opening the discussion like this. I think it's very good to talk about it. In my experience, maybe just in the story about what can you do if you feel that you can do more than what you want. I think a feeling is always something that you can talk about. So, and you can talk about it in real person, but one step even further away would be just a chat message, which might feel a little bit less personal, but it's a bit more distance as well. So just telling your manager or a coworker, of course, it's always best to go with your manager because they make the decisions, to just feel like, hey, I have the feeling I'm being underrepresented, or and then you can also always see what happens. And of course, I liked a lot about the tip that you can also, one example, what I did is when we did the sprint, we started the sprint and you could pick a story. I just made sure that during the meeting, I was already checking what is the most difficult task that I can pick. And so I already linked myself to the ticket before the actual meeting started. So that's a sneaky trick that you can try. But of course, it's the first thing that you should do is just first tell how you feel. I think that really helped me a lot, at least.
Thank you. I think we all appreciate that very much. And I also have I'm gonna, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it right now, right? Yeah, let's do it right now. I want to say, so we have a, you want to do it? Okay, all right. Greg gave us this puzzle and said that we needed to give it out at the panel. He said it was totally up to us how to do it. And, the panel and I and Ezra got together and we decided that what we're going to do is give it to the first male that asked a question. That's a good question. So congratulations, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for organizing the panel. It's really a nice environment to feel identified with other women in the field. Not only women, but also men that are suffering as well for the same situations. My question will be like, I'm working in a startup. Let's put a hypothetical situation. You ask for salary, more salary, because you obviously deserve it. You get the salary, you kind of, you got a raise, but not what you feel that in the market value you could have gotten, right? How will you handle these kinds of situations? Not only for women, I think women, of course, there is a salary gap. We already know about this topic, but also for men, especially in IT, there is such a, the salary, there is no transparency in the salary. I think this is the starting point. And want it or not, we all need money. Like, yes, experience, work environment is great, but we don't eat with that. So how do you handle this situation normally?
So maybe I can answer that because I once got a raise that only was 50 euros reflected on my paycheck at the end what I got, and it was my yearly raise. And basically I was telling my manager, hey, you know what? I researched a little bit, and my current the current market has this salary for my level. And my manager told me, you know what, Manuela, I know, but I can't give you more. And that was the moment where I found myself looking at new jobs, because if you really like that company, maybe you can accept, having not the perfect raise. But for me, it was very important, to feel valued and also to reach the next level in my career. So I changed. So my biggest tip is don't be afraid to ask. And don't be afraid to, change, and have some compelling arguments. So bring the numbers, bring your tasks that you have done, bring the value that you brought to the company, which you have, and ask for it.
I would also like to add to that. So I totally agree with Manuela. I go with the data. So many companies call themselves data-driven. So, come with data. But for example, in Poland, like some big job boards do a yearly report with all the pay statistics in the country on different technologies. So I would advise you to look for something similar in your area, and then you will have some statistics like what is the minimum salary on a similar position, what is the medium, what is the maybe maximum, something like that. So if you are clearly off, then you have a very big argument like, come on, someone is ripping someone off.
That's another thing, like the resources we are using, these statistics, are already biased because people that is going there want to check their salary because they feel that they are being underpaid, and they are putting there the salaries they are getting at the moment. So it's already, just ask more. I know, I know the answer, but it's just,
Well, and I might throw out there, if it's a startup, and they don't have the cash, maybe you could ask for, other types of compensation, and maybe try to make up some of the gap that way. I was going to say, in the United States, Colorado, I know, has passed some laws about transparency in salaries, and I've never looked, but I would love to see if that's helped change, for example, the gender gap in pay. If you know what other people are making, maybe that is a difference. And so you may have hit on part of the answer there, is figure out a way to make the salaries more transparent. That may very well be an answer.
Thanks for your answers.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, this is loud. Thanks for the panel discussion. Related to the first question that we had about being assigned like smaller tasks and so on, would you consider it better to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, or would you consider that approach to be like really a last resort?
Sorry, can you please repeat your question?
I think what he's asking is, should you just go do it and worry about the repercussions of you taking on this extra task versus waiting for them, or saying, "Oh, can I please do this harder task?" He's saying, would you find it better to go ahead and just go find a way to do it versus,
Yeah, I think what I learned from picking task is just go, like what you said, is you just go away and be like, I can actually handle this very hard task, because again, you find that these are tasks that you are creating a particular feature that's probably going to be in the generation of that particular application. So you just go ahead and pick it up, and then the beauty about that is you actually get to learn through the process. And then if you're not able to maybe fully deliver, then you can always ask. Again, the aspect of asking for help then comes in here, but then at least you make sure that you are in the process of building that particular hard task.
Exactly. So basically, I feel the same way as Kendi. We always usually have stand-ups, right, every morning. And usually the first question is anyone blocked? And that's the point where you can raise it and be like, hey, you know what, I think I am blocked. And also, if you have spoken to your manager maybe before that, because you were maybe a little bit unsure and it's the first time you picked a hard ticket, it makes sense to have a trusted colleague and ask them, hey, you know what, can we make a game plan? How am I gonna go through this? And, tackle that like that. So I did that actually with some very nice colleagues, and I tackled those big tickets.
All right, thank you.
Hi. This is a bit related to the last question you guys had with the positive discrimination. And I just wondering, how do you deal with the feeling that, especially now in a time where more companies are endorsing women and having more women in the tech field, that you feel certain people feel you are there only because of diversity purposes and not because of your qualifications?
I think that then it is your job to just work and show that you earned it. So that maybe if you are at a place where you are because of some positive discrimination, well, what can you do about it? That already happened. So it's not like you should decline the job offer because you know that it's only because of that. So work hard and make sure that nobody will have any reasons to ever doubt in you.
Thank you.
Very good. I like that a lot too. One thing I would say is we're starting to see a little bit of a pushback on that in the United States, and we'll have to see how it turns out. But that's, there's a lot of people that are trying to say, okay, wait a second, we need to do that. And I think most of us would agree that we're not really asking companies to hire women just because they're women, but we're asking them to help try to make an effort to find us. And if you're presented with two candidates that are equal and you have 15 men on the team and no women, hire the woman. That's what I think we're really asking for in a lot of cases. And I think that message can get corrupted out there. And people are thinking that we're asking you to, just hire a woman because you have to hire a woman. And I mean, I don't know how many of us would think that. I don't think that's what we're trying to say.
Hi. So I want to ask, I don't know how it's like in the US, but in Europe, I feel like there's not a lot of intersectionality with the diversity efforts in terms of racial and ethnic diversity. So what I think it's actually not really legal to collect race information in Germany. I'm not too sure about that, but do you have any tips to promote intersectionality, even when you're doing like gender diversity, like even in that, there is still some like racial and ethnic. I'm missing the word to use, but like there's still the lack of the diversity in that side. Like, do you have some tips on how to promote this or improve this situation within the bounds of German legal, whatever?
So I think I'm the only German here. But honestly, I personally think that we do have those restrictions, and I hope that that we could we hire everyone. And I honestly not really affected with that because I'm a white feminist, and I don't want to be the white woman saying how intersectionality should go on. So I would rather like give this question to someone who is like German and maybe affected as well. Because I can't speak for those intersectionality issues because I'm not affected. But if anyone is here who is German and who is affected, please speak up because we can give you the microphone. Because I would never sit here and want to take away the word of someone who actually knows about this.
As you may all be surprised by now, I do have a couple of thoughts on that. But the first thing I want to say is I think there may be, 3 of us here who English is our native language. So I know you were struggling to find a word. But wow, for everybody here. All of our panelists, English is not their first language. And I know most of you all here. So thank you all for letting me be here and talk with you. But I do want to say that I think that a lot of the issues that we face trying to get, women to be able to have their place in the workplace, I think applies a lot to race. And the one piece of advice I would say is do your best to get in power and change it. I think that's part of it.
I can quickly adapt to that because as you can see, we are here Flutteristas, so we represent females and non-binary people. And yeah, it's already easier when you have a community. So maybe that's a call for action to you. If you couldn't find a community that would be struggling with similar struggles as you are, you can start it and start making the change yourself.
And I'll throw in, if you want to do that, I think any one of us up here would be very happy to talk to you about our experiences on building the community and doing that. I think it'd be great.
Hi, thank you so much for what you're doing here to empower more women and non-binary people in tech. I have more of a general question. Last year I asked how still in this modern era we still have low number of women and non-binary people in tech and how companies don't still seem to be doing much about it. Looking now 1 year later, how much do you think we've improved as a community? What do you think we've done right and we should keep doing it more? And what do you think we are doing wrong and we should change, and how?
I love that question. Anybody on the panel have anything they can say?
Well, I would like to pick up that question. I feel like what we are currently doing right now is good enough because we're encouraging more women, especially to attend these events. I come from a place where girls are very shy and they really don't they hold back a lot. And sometimes what I do is I notice somebody who's maybe attending events and such stuff and encourage them to come and speak, or we can even co-speak together so that they gain the courage to do these things by themselves, or even try to ask questions, especially in technical questions in the groups and such stuff. And then that gives them a bit of courage to, show up and do more of these things. So I feel like if you're a leader in any of these forums, then encouraging maybe one by one, then you bring them on board one by one.
And something that I wanted to add up about what we can do more. I think that other than empowering women, like in the workplace, something nice that we can still do is to actually empower female when they are at a young age, because it happens that most of the time we don't have enough women to cover tech positions, because actually it is from the young age that they don't feel like represented, and so they don't feel like they can actually take that path in their life. So something that we can do more, I think it's try to change this what happens and biases from the when people are still really young to be like brought to some directions, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I was talking with someone at the booth before we came in here, and the problem is this has been generations in the making. I mean, even more than that. But I mean, so it's only been a couple of generations, a few generations that we've really been trying to make the change. And so I'm not sure a year is long enough to measure what's happening. But I mean, the fact that you're here a second year asking questions is amazing, and it shows me that we have great hope, and that, and I think having the conversations helps a lot. So, and we're way out of time, so I think we've got time for this. I'm sorry, but we don't have time for this question. I'm going to take it anyway. Until they push me off the stage, we're up here answering questions. So go ahead.
Thank you so much, Danielle. My question is, before I get to that, thank you so much for the Flutteristas. I learned so much from them, and I'm so thankful that we have those great women in our community. And personally, I know some female friends of mine. She's so much better, but she's struggling because of her gender to get respect, to get her work is good enough, and not even good enough, she's so much better. But I have a question related to a little story. I was in a company, and some of the girls wasn't feeling so well in the workplace where I was together with them all. It was an open office, and I recognized that one manager, he was old-fashioned, but he was constantly harassing those young women. And my mother grew me up like Alicia, for example, that I'm an empathic person, and I try to, when someone is being harassed, I'm standing up for her. And I stood up for her. It was, by the way, a student female friend of mine. And at the end, this manager got fired because I motivated her to stand up for herself. She couldn't do it, and it broke my heart that she don't wanted to talk about that. I totally understand it, because some women don't want to talk about it, and some women talk about it. And I struggle sometimes because I do that a lot in my working place. I want to have a safe working place when I'm in a company, and when some people aren't treated right, in my opinion, I stand up for those people, and I don't let it be these actions.
Thank you for that.
Actually, Rebar, so he basically is the reason why I do Flutter. And honestly, he is an ally.
Absolutely an ally.
Because he basically, I was hired as a QA, and he saw my GitHub profile, and so I was coding. So he was like, no, you are a developer. And since then, you know, I'm working as a Flutter developer, so really big thank you to you. That should be highlighted definitely here in this round. And I think I know the manager you're talking about. And I was only 3 months in that company, and something happened to me too. I didn't say it at that point. But yeah, thank you that you got him fired, because he was not good.
Yes, I think...
Thank you very much.
I think Manuela knows who am I speaking of. But my question, I didn't get my question, is I totally understand some women don't want to get help from males. Other women are very thankful for this help. So what would you suggest, especially men, what to do in these sensitive situations? You know, it's not easy.
Actually, be the person you are, because like if I would have still worked there and it would have gone on, I would have talked to someone that I trusted. And if you're unsure, you can also ask, you know, do you need help? You know, I saw there was something, do you need help? So that's, yeah, very important, but you're already doing that. I know you, so thank you, Deba.
Thank you too.
I would like to add to that though, is if someone really doesn't want help, respect them. You know, respect their wishes at that point. But thank you so much for being there. And you know, a lot of times you can still do the right thing without actually, you know, helping someone. You can make sure of what's around and stuff. And I think that's our last question. So I would like to make a, kind of a point on allyship. You know, it's been an amazing last, you know, couple hundred years and changes that have happened. Like, you know, in the United States, the slaves would have never been freed. Okay, we're getting more questions. I'm still gonna make my point, but then I'm gonna let you ask your question. Because like I said, until you turn off the mics, I'm willing to stay. So the slaves would have never been freed without, you know, white men fighting for it. Women would have never gotten the right to vote if men hadn't voted to let it happen. So it really is important with allies, and don't underestimate your ability to help out just being part of doing the right thing and being part of that.
Thank you. So my question is to you. So when you're encouraging someone to apply to a job and you say that you have higher chance because of diversity, how would you say it in a nice way that it's not offensive, but like, first of all, is it offensive? Is it so that...
Sure, absolutely it is.
Okay, for example, you have high chance because none of the companies will hire if people is not qualified. So that's a fact. But two people are equally qualified. Of course, you have a high chance. So this is what people mean actually. But is it really offensive? And I would like to understand really.
I think that being upset that someone had, you know, basically, like I said, the tie break goes to the person that's not represented. No, I think there's a way to have that conversation and not be offensive.
Mm-hmm.
But
how would it be, for example?
I'm sorry?
How would it be, for example, to say it in a nice way? Because like companies are saying that we are increasing diversity.
Sure.
And it's definitely like none of the companies will hire someone that is not qualified.
I hope not, right? Yes. They won't be in business for long if they do.
So this is a fact. And how do you say it in a nice way to encourage people who are like not really sure if they should apply?
Well,
maybe you can just skip the word diversity and just say, hey, I think you would be a perfect match for our team. You are qualified and you are exactly the kind of person that we are looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, great answer. Okay, yeah, if you hop on up. Like I said, I mean, we are so far over time now.
Just a suggestion. Can we maybe?
Oh, they're the last ones. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Just a suggestion. Maybe for next year, can we have something like, I don't know, Slido, so we can post the questions live and have more time to answer them instead of this, and maybe have more time than 40 minutes. It was a problem last year. It's a problem this year. I know I don't want to offend anyone, but I really want to listen to Flutter talks, but I can also check the documentation, and we don't have documentation for the problem we are trying to solve this here. Thank you.
I think you might owe him a puzzle. I'm sorry. I'm just, no. All right. Wow, that was amazing. I mean, I'm sure we're up for it if we can. Like I said, this last talk of the day, I can't even see if anybody's actually still back there, but yeah, there are. And so I'm probably keeping them late. So if this is it, that's great. Once again, please give a hand to our panel. And thank you all for coming, for being allies, for wanting to be allies, for trying to be better, for being Flutteristas. I mean, thank you all. This is always an amazing thing. And I think this kind of dialogue is what will help us get better and help us be able to have those conversations.